I'm going to introduce a friend of Indiana University, a friend of the school, a friend of this class. We'll talk about that in a second. And he has been one of the most requested, demanded. You will see him now. You will see him in 420 if you take 420. We've actually designed this so he starts you in your career, and he will end as you start to move into your career at X420. He's my friend, Joe Pica. Give him a great, big, warm welcome.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Keith. I'm thrilled to be back. Let me tell you a little bit about my history and my connection to the to Indiana University and to the Indiana University Kelley School of Business. X220 is near and dear to my heart. One of the reasons why is that I taught the first ever X220 class. When the course was created, I got to teach the very first class. That was in January of 1996. I have come back every year since, so that means that I've stood in front of approximately 30,000 students. That's a real thrill for me, to be able to share some ideas about success. I also spent 10 years as the director of the MBA program at Indiana University. I also got my doctorate here at Indiana University. So when I sing the fight song, I really mean it. What I'm going to try to do today is to give you some insights that I've learned through my own experiences and through having access to the most successful business people in the world. It was great. Over that decade of working in the MBA program, I got to work at and interact with business people at all levels, from MBAs who were just starting out their careers to the captains of industry. You know, it was great to sit at a table and have a conversation with the CEO of Ford Motor Company, Dow Chemical, P&G. And we talked about that challenge of finding people that were going to be successful and understanding the process of how people become successful. So what I'm going to try to do today is to help you understand. And when you leave, you'll have a much better understanding of yourself and what it takes to be able to succeed. There's lots of people trying to predict which of you people, which of you students are going to be successful. Think about it. All of those employers want to hire the people that are going to be superstars, right? So how do they go about doing that? Well, there's a couple of ways. I want people that are going to be success. We're looking at that success indicator. How do they do it? Well, they interview you, right? They'll interview you. Well, I'll just talk with you and I'll be able to tell. No, you won't. Interview's not that great, as you probably have figured out. Not a real great predictor, all right? Oh, standardized tests. Standardized tests. Now, while I was working with the MBA program, I spent 4 years as a board of director on the Graduate and Management Admission Council. GMAC? You might recognize that. They're the people that own the GMAT test. I learned a lot about the GMAT test. But the thing I was most fascinated by was, what does the GMAT test predict? What does it predict? Well, I can tell you what it predicts. It slightly predicts first-year grades in an MBA program. Okay? After that, it absolutely doesn't predict anything. There is no connection between how people do in a GMAT and how successful they're going to be in their life and in their career. It was interesting because early research, people thought that success was really tied to intelligence, right? The smarter the person, the more successful they should be. So they went and they gathered up all the people that scored over 150 on their IQ test. Said, these should be the Nobel Prize winners. Guess what? They were wrong. Here's what they did learn. Intelligence does matter to a point, all right? Here's what they found. There is a correlation between how smart you are and how successful you are up until you get to IQs 115, 120. Okay? By the way, y'all got IQs in 115, 120 range. You're not in this room without that, let me tell you. Okay? After that, Being smarter predicts nothing. Being smarter doesn't make you any more successful. There's a critical level of intelligence that you need, and you already have it, okay? After that, being way smarter isn't going to get you there. I have to laugh. I met with some high school friends, okay, that they were getting together because we were all turning 60 this year. And so they invited me, and I get with this group. And by the way, when I left the MBA program, I became an entrepreneur. I started a company. That company has grown dramatically over time. The name of the company, Educational Benchmarking. We provide services to colleges and universities, over 1,500 colleges and universities. All right. The company's been very successful. And so I met with these folks, and they're asking me questions, and I'm, you don't want to talk about yourself, but they're prying, what do you do? So they figure out that, I started a company, I have a doctorate, and I was laughing, and I was saying to them, when we were in high school, I was not one of those people that you would have picked as, most likely to succeed. And they all looked at me and they said, yeah, dude, you weren't on that list. Huh. But I thought about that. I wasn't. And there's a reason why it's so hard to predict who's going to be successful. And I'm going to share with you what those reasons are and what you can do to be one of those people. There is one thing that is a predictor of success, and it's a college degree. And I will tell you that level of education is directly correlated with annual salary and lifetime earnings. That I will tell you. Getting a college degree is one of the smartest things you're doing. I will tell you that. But I'm just going to tell you that that's necessary but insufficient to really be successful. It's necessary, but it's just a platform. Who's going to be successful in this room? And by the way, the reason we can't predict is that it's not who you are today. Who you are today, right now, was good enough to get you in this room on this day. Period. Who you are today is not who you need to be successful in the future. I'm going to tell you that. That's why we do such a crappy job of predicting. Because you don't have it yet. If I really wanted to predict, I would try to figure out who are the people that are dedicating their lives to becoming who they need to be to succeed. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. Because really it's about who you're going to become in the future that will be the predictor of who in this room is going to be really, really successful. So we're going to talk about that process. That's what we're going to learn. And we're going to start out by looking at some very basic things. All right? First thing I want you to do is fold your hands. Quick, fold them. Okay. Now, take them apart and fold them the other way. Ooh, that doesn't feel right, does it? Now, I noticed when I first asked you to fold your hands, nobody did this. Oh, I don't know how to do it. This is what you did. You folded them, you didn't think about it, and it felt right. Because this is how I fold my hands. This is who I am. I'm a hand folder. This is how I do it, and it feels like me. It feels right. Then you fold it the other way, and you say, that ain't right. Fold your arms. Quick. Fold them the other way. Oh, yikes. You got to think about that, don't you? Oh, man, this isn't right. There are so many things that you do. You do them without thinking, and you're emotionally attached to them. That's who I am. You can feel it, because it's that feeling that tells you this is me. Now here's the problem. That you're going to have to change to become who you need to be to succeed. And change is really difficult. As humans, we don't want to give up who we are. We're pretty darn comfortable with where we are right now. And that's not good enough. And we're going to talk about the process of change. If I can help you to understand it, and you can see where the challenges are, and you can learn how to do it better, I can put you on the path to be way more successful. And that's what I'm going to do in the next 45 minutes or so, okay? We're going to start again by thinking of something simple, and that's brushing your teeth. You got up this morning and you brushed your teeth, right? Oh man, nod your head even if you didn't. We'll all feel better. Seriously, yeah, I brushed them. Yeah, sure I did. Let me tell you what you did. You walked into the bathroom and you grabbed your toothbrush from the exact same place you grabbed it yesterday. Then you grabbed the toothpaste from the same place that it was yesterday, right? Some of you wet the brush before you put the paste on. Some of you wet the brush after you put it on. Whatever you did this morning, it's exactly what you did yesterday. Some of you squeeze the tube from the back. Some of you squeeze the tube from the front. Some of you just squeeze it right in the middle. Whatever you did today, it's what you did yesterday. Some of you put the toothpaste on back to front. Some of you front to back. Some of you, that big blob right in the middle. But whatever you did this morning, it's exactly what you did yesterday. And research tells us that you took that brush and you put it in your mouth in the exact same place as yesterday and did the exact same number of strokes in the exact same place as yesterday. Now you're going to say, well, so who wants to think about brushing their teeth? I just do it. You do it, and it feels right. You brush your teeth. Now, when I was in the doctoral, when I was here and I was a doctoral student, there was a period of time, a number of years actually, where I was a full-time employee in the MBA office, and I was a full-time student. All right? Which is a fascinating part of my life, and I'll tell you some of the consequences of that. But while I was in the program, I had a friend who was in the doctoral program who was the poster child for dental hygiene, carried a toothbrush in his pocket. I have great respect for that. If you're one of those people, I respect that. To be that committed to your dental hygiene is very impressive. He brushed his teeth after every meal, every snack, and so we would kid him when it came time to get the dental checkup. You know, we would say, oh, hey, seriously, we're assuming you'll come back with a crown and staff, right? A lollipop, you're probably going to get a whole bag. You're the poster child. So he goes to the dentist, he gets his checkup, he comes back, you know, we're saying, hey, where's your crown? Got a lollipop for me? How'd you do? He said, I had 2 cavities. I said, what? He said, yeah, I had 2 cavities. I said, well, how did this guy have 2 cavities? Let me tell you how. He brushed his teeth that day. You know that spot he missed today? He missed it yesterday. He missed it the day before. He's going to miss it tomorrow. Because once those patterns get deeply ingrained, we do them without thinking. We do them the exact same way. So, what do we learn from this? First thing, when you learn something new, do it right out of the box. Because once it becomes part of who we are, it's very hard to change. Because you can think about it. You can say, well, I'm going to think about this when I brush my teeth, right? And I'm going to now brush differently. Incredibly difficult to do. Because that not thinking part of how you brush your teeth, pretty well ingrained. You've been doing that a long time. So you have to have techniques to be able to change your behaviors. For brushing your teeth, let me tell you a really effective way to do this. If you're missing spots right now, or you're not getting the perfect, you should be getting the perfect checkup every time you go. If you're not brushing your teeth correctly. So how do you change that? Take the brush and stick it in the other hand. And from this point forward, brush your teeth with the opposite hand. Now, here's the first thing. When you first start to do that, 50-50 chance you're going to stick it in your eye once. But because it's your opposite hand, it gives you the ability to think about what you're doing and to establish the pattern, to cover everything and to do it correctly. How long will it take for that to happen? How long does it take for human beings to change a habit?
21 days.
91?
21.
21. You know how many days? 21. 21 days to change a simple behavioral habit. You're going to have to change things way more complicated than that to become who you need to be to succeed. Understanding that is your first lesson in understanding what it takes to be, what you need to do. Habits are deeply grooved behaviors that exist below the conscious level. First, we make our habits, then our habits make us. Habits, good or bad, begin as innocent companions. Later, they become our masters. Changing who you are to become who you need to be to succeed is what makes people successful. Except that we don't like the process. We don't understand the process. All right, I told you that when I was here, I worked full-time, and I was a full-time student for a period of time. My life was crazy, let me tell you. Being both a full-time student and full-time employee, I didn't do anything but work. But I was committed to exercising, except prior to doing both of those things at the same time, my exercise was like team sports. I played basketball, I played tennis. Well, with my life completely out of control, I couldn't coordinate that. But I still wanted to exercise. And I was talking about this with my friends in the doctoral program, and like two of them just they jumped up, and I said, what? They jumped, whoa, be a runner. I said, what? They said, oh, be a runner. This is perfect for you. First of all, running is the best. There's nothing better than running. I said, well, that's pretty good. Hey, it's a pretty good endorsement. And they said, it's perfect because you can do it anywhere. You don't have to have other people to do it. It doesn't take a lot of equipment. This is perfect for your lifestyle. And there's nothing better than being a runner. I said, that really, first thing, I thought about it and said, that makes sense for me. That's the first step, that you think about what you want to do. I said, okay, I'm going to be a runner. Now, here's the next thing about becoming who you need to be to succeed. I've used this technique my whole life. I still do, all right? I made the decision, first of all, thinking I'm going to be a runner. The next thing I said this, if I'm going to be a runner, if I'm going to try this, right, I'm going to do it for 30 days. 30-day commitment, 30 days. 30 days, I'm going to be a runner. At the end of 30 days, I'm going to say to myself, do you want to be a runner? I can say yes or no. I can't ask that question for 30 days. So, thought about it, this makes sense, I want to get exercise, it fits in, made my commitment, 30 days. So I also rewarded myself. I went out and bought running shoes and running shorts. Oh yeah. Got in the car, mapped out a 3-mile route of where, another key here, mapped out a 3-mile route of where I was going to run, okay? And I'm very much I like to have a point in time where I know I started something. So I got a piece of chalk. And by the way, at the time I was living in Fountain Park, which is still there, I'm assuming. It's a complex just east of town. Walked outside with my piece of chalk and drew a line. I said, that's where my running career starts. Okay? Next thing to know, I knew how far I was going to run, and I timed myself every time I ran. Monitoring your behavior is one of those things that's part of becoming who you need to be to succeed. Okay, 30-day commitment, monitor what you do. So and my friends had taught me how to stretch, and I'm ready to go. I'm all excited. The alarm went off that morning at 6 o'clock. I jumped out of bed, put on my running shoes, put on my running shorts. I'm stretching out front. My friends are going to class, and I know I look cool. I'm stretching. Oh yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. Put my toe on that line, and I start running. And I'm running. I'm breathing hard. I'm hurting. I'm falling. I got a stitch in my side. I thought I was going to die. So here I am laying in the grass with this pain in my side, right? I'm thinking 911. But here's what comes to my mind as I'm laying there in pain. Number one, my friends lied. Number two, my friends are masochists. Number three, 29 more days. So I got back up, walked off the stitch in my side, ran that little part at the end back into the apartment complex. Because, come on, think about it, you know. I had friends in the apartment complex, and when I left, I was running, right? When I came back in, I was running, right? None of their business what went on in between. Day 2, the alarm goes off. How do you think I feel? Oh, man, get up, and put on my shoes, and stretch. I'm a little smarter. Put my toe on the line, and now I'm not like sprinting. I'm like jogging. So I jogged like 1.5 miles, walked a little bit, jogged a little bit, ran that piece back at the end. Day 3, jogged almost all the way, walked just a little bit, ran the rest of the way back in. Day 4, jogged the whole way. Day 5 or 6, now things get interesting, because now I'm up to the point where I'm starting to run. So what happens when you run? Here's what happens. When you run, you burn calories, right? And what happens when you burn calories? Your body temperature goes up. So you start running, burning calories, body temperature starts to go up. You start running, keep running, body temperature going up. Keep running, body temperature going up. And about 10 minutes in, you're hot. And your body says, stop, we're hot. And some do, and their running career comes to an end right there. They give up. Too hot. But not me. I keep running. Got 25 more days. I keep running, I keep getting hot. Something's got to give. Either I have to stop, or my body has to compensate for my increase in temperature. So, 10 or 15 minutes into a run, what happens? How does your body compensate for the rise in temperature? You sweat. Woof. And you sweat, it's like woof. The moisture on your skin evaporates and controls your body temperature, and you can continue to go over the hurdle. But it's not the last hurdle. Here's one thing you have to know about running. It hurts. Hurts real bad. All right? So, my temperature's under control. I'm running, it's hurting. I'm running, it's hurting. 20 minutes into the run, it hurts. Stop! It hurts. And some do. And the running career comes to an end right there. But not me. I got 20 more days. I keep running, it keeps hurting. I keep running, it keeps hurting. Something's got to give. The body's got to compensate. How does the body compensate for the pain? Releases endorphins into your system. What are endorphins? Narcotics. All right? It releases a drug into your system that reduces the pain. And now I can run and run and run. But the fascinating thing, the first time that happened to me, that I got up to ran hard enough to sweat, hard enough to hit the endorphin rush, the insight came when I got back and I stopped. So I stopped running, which means no longer generating heat and no longer generating pain. But guess what? Those endorphins are still in my system, and it feels wonderful. It feels great. It was at that moment that I understood why runners run. That's what they call a runner's high. That's why runners run. And let me tell you something. Most folks never get there. You know why? They got too hot. It hurt too much. They gave up too soon. The process of becoming who we need to be. This example plays itself out because we're human beings, and it's hard for us to make the change. We have to stick with it long enough to get the benefit. And most people don't succeed simply because their expectations about how the process of change is supposed to work are wrong. They're wrong. Because here's the deal. It's always harder than you think. Always harder than you think. It always takes longer than you think. And there are always barriers along the way that you can use as an excuse to stop. Too hot, hurts too much, don't have the time, I give them to you. That's what stops you from becoming who you need to be to succeed. It's not any more complicated than that. People come to me and say, what can I do to really be a great business person? All right? And since my first endeavor with the MBA program, and I've said this to MBAs and undergraduates for 25 years, read the Wall Street Journal every single day. Read the Wall Street Journal every single day. Now, let me tell you what will happen if you do this. After you do this, there will come a point in time where you'll have a level of insight and understanding that surpasses what you're learning in your classes. You will begin to really see the connectedness of how an economy works. You'll be able to anticipate how things will have an impact. You'll understand the relationships between all the elements of business and the depth of insight that you can't get any other way. Now, this is true. So just like you can imagine the MBAs were all saying, whoa, sign me up. That's why I came to business school. I want that. And so right on this table, I had a sign-up sheet for the Wall Street Journal, and they all ran down. Every single MBA ran down and signed up for, that's what I'm looking for, signed up for the Wall Street Journal. I'll never forget this one year, one of the students, Tom came up, he shook my hand, he introduced himself, and he said, Dr. Pica, that thing you talked about, I really want that. I'm telling you, I'm going to read the Wall Street Journal every single day. I'm going to get that. I said, Tom, that's great. Go to it. Okay, so we send it in. A couple weeks later, the Wall Street Journal starts to come, and Tom gets his first issue. And so, Tom's reading the Wall Street Journal every single day, and a week goes by, he's reading it, and 2 weeks go by, and knock on my door, it's Tom. Tom. He said, Dr. Pica, can I have a moment of your time? I said, Tom, come on in. I said, how you doing? He said, well, I need your help for a second. I said, well, Tom, how can I help? He said, listen. He said, I want that thing you talked about, that Wall Street Journal thing. I want it. And I'm reading the Wall Street Journal every single day. But I must be doing something wrong because it's not happening. So I need your help. What should I be doing differently? I said, Tom, I can help you. And he went, oh, good. I said, okay, Tom, here. There are 3 things you need to do, Tom. And I'm only going to tell you once, and here they are. First, read the Wall Street Journal every single day. Second, read the Wall Street Journal every single day. Third, read the Wall Street Journal every day. He said, oh, no. He said, no, I'm already doing that. I said, Tom, there isn't anything else. That's what you need to do. He said, I said, Tom, no buts, Tom. Read the Wall Street Journal. But, Tom, out. Tom goes. Week goes by, no Tom. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. End of the term, end of the semester, knock on my door, it's Tom. I'll never forget this, because I have a very big office. I had a corner office here on the 2nd floor, and I came out from around my desk, and I see Tom walking across, and he's coming at me. And he walks up like almost nose to nose. He's looking right at me, and he says, Dr. Pica, I get it. I got it. I see it. I got it. I'm like, wow. He said, wow. He said, it's amazing. I get it. Thank you. Now, what did Tom get? Well, let me tell you the experience. Let me describe what happened. Before Tom came that day, he was reading the Wall Street Journal. But the Wall Street Journal has those little snippets of articles. Think of those as puzzle pieces, okay? And when Tom was reading it for all those weeks before, it was like the puzzle was up against his nose. He could move all around and see all the pieces. He just couldn't see it. He could only see the pieces. And what he said to me, he said, yesterday, it's like somebody pulled the puzzle back. I saw the pieces. They fit together. I get it. I see it. Tom was one of the few MBAs that ever got that. And let me tell you why. All the other MBAs who sat in the room that wanted that ordered the Wall Street Journal. They read it for a couple of weeks. But you know what? After a couple of weeks, you know what happened? Oh, they had a reading assignment and had a project to do, and then midterms came, and they were saying, oh, that Wall Street Journal thing, he was lying. That didn't work. Yeah, I trusted that guy and he lied to me because it didn't happen. Or I guess I wasn't doing it right. And they stopped. Now, there's a reason why Tom didn't stop. All right? One, he was a really committed guy. Two, he made a commitment to me he was going to do it, and he knew I knew. He raised the stakes for himself. I love that strategy, by the way. Committed to someone else that he was going to do it. But you know what? Learning's not linear. And let me tell you, this is one of the first insights, that we want to believe that if I work a little harder, I get a little better. If I work a little harder, I get a little better. That's not how we work. That's not how our brains work. We want to be rewarded for our efforts all along the way, right? That I can see my progress, blah, 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 blah. Tom didn't come in and say to me, gradually over time, I saw how it all fit together. He said, one day, it's like I could see it. It made sense to me. That's how our brains work, guys. Okay? It's not linear. There are giant spikes that happen, leaps that take place. By the way, we see this in sports all the time. We not only do it in our brains, but in our performance. That you see an athlete who works hard at something and does okay, and then all of a sudden they have this incredible performance. Not a gradual increase, but a leap in their performance. It's how we work. Understanding that's important. We don't get there because it's always harder than we think. It always takes longer than we think. And along the way, there's barriers and reasons why we think we should just give up. We just don't stick with it because we don't understand it. Well, now you're beginning to understand it. How many speed readers do we have in the room? Are there any speed readers in the room? None. Zero. Let me talk about speed reading. It's a fascinating thing. First of all, let's talk about reading. All right? You were classically trained to read. Let me tell you what that means. Okay? That means that you can read between 250 and 300 words a minute. That's what you can do. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more, but that's it. Classically trained readers read 200 to 300 words a minute. Let me tell you how you learn to read. Here's what happened. First you learned vocabulary, then you got your book, and you sat with your book, and you read out loud, right? See, Spot, run, Dick and Jane. And every day you're reading out loud, and then one day the teacher comes over and taps you on the shoulder and says, just read to yourself, silently. Read silently to yourself. So your reading went from saying the words out loud to saying the words in your head. So when you read now, you say the words in your head. That methodology for reading gets no more than 300 words per minute. That's it. That's what classically trained readers can do. Now, what can speed readers do? 800 to 1,000 words a minute. 800 to 1,000 words a minute. Whoa, 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 whoa. You just told me it's 300. How do speed readers do 800 to 1,000? Because they don't read like you. Now, I'm going to simplify this, but I'm going to give you the basic methodology behind speed reading. I took a class. Took a speed reading class. And let me explain to you how this works. First of all, I took this class. There's like, 30 people in the class. And I'm going to, there's a lot to this, but I'm going to give you the one principle. Basically, the teacher said, we bought this book. It wasn't complicated. It was Abraham Lincoln, actually, was the book. And he said, okay, here's what I want you to do. What I want you to do is I want you to, on every page, I want you to move your hand that speed and that motion down the page and follow the words that are in front of your fingertips. And then everybody said, okay, then what? He said, no, just do that. But what? No, just do that. Just follow your hand and do it. So everybody opens their book and they start doing it, and then he's walking around and saying, whoa, whoa, stop. Everybody stop. You're not moving your hands fast enough. And one of the students raises their hand and says, well, if I move it any faster, I can't read it. You're not supposed to. You're learning the technique, and the technique is use your hand to force your eyes to move faster than you can read classically. That's what we're doing. We're forcing you to move your... And they said, well, that's really annoying. Yeah, but, and I don't understand any of it. Yeah, So what am I supposed to do? You're supposed to get the book and follow your hand with your eyes. That's what you're supposed to do. Well, how long am I supposed to do it? Weeks. What? What? Okay. Half the class dropped. Seriously, half the class dropped after that. Said, nuh-uh, I'm not doing that, right? The rest of us stuck with it. So here's what happens. It's really frustrating, by the way, to be moving your hand faster than you can clap, because you're following the words and you're like, I'm not getting it, I don't see it, it's just words. This is the part that astounded me, because I did this, I practiced, I dedicated. How long did I do it? I said, I'll give you 30 days. Because why? I have a 30-day rule. 30 days. Here's the fascinating thing, is that couldn't speed read, got up one day, bang, I'm a speed reader. It didn't happen overnight, didn't happen gradually. This was the part that was, I can understand why people gave up, because no one would believe what your brain is capable of. I mean, how can people speed read? Let me tell you how. Your brain's an amazing thing. Is that when you're doing this down the page, first of all, you're not doing this. You're not reading the words in sequence line by line. You're looking at clumps of words down the page. That's what you're doing. Clumps of words. And if you force yourself, if you don't let your emotions or mind control your behavior, that one thing we know with your mind is that there can't be an incongruence. You can't do this forever and never be able to understand it. One of two things happen. You either snap back and go read classically, or your brain's got to figure out how to get the information out based on your new behavior, which is moving down the page, looking at clumps of words. And guess what? Your brain is capable of that. Because speed readers do 800 to 1,000 words a minute because they can look at clumps of words without saying them and extract the meaning. And the words don't even have to be in order. Yikes. Clumps of words to extract the meaning. Now, it gets even better. Guess what? In terms of reading comprehension, speed readers crush standardly trained readers. Crush them. They get much higher comprehension when you speed read. Well, let me see. I do it faster, and I get more out of it, and I learn more, and I remember more, and I comprehend more. That's a pretty good deal. Right? I think that's a pretty good deal. Why don't people get there? They don't get there because it's harder than they think or expect. It takes longer than they think, and it's just too darn frustrating. Something had to give. Most people, they gave in and went back to the old way of doing it. Those who stuck with it changed themselves into who they needed to be. Now, how fast can a person really read? That's average for a speed reader, 800 to 1,000, right? If you go online and look up Howard Berg is in the Guinness Book of World Records as being the fastest speed reader on the planet. So how fast does Howard Berg read? 25,000 words a minute. 25,000 words a minute. That's 416 words per second. And you should go online. It's very cool. There are a number of examples of Howard doing this. One of the coolest ones is he's on like a news channel, and they have him on, and they have like, there's a new law that got passed. It's this big, thick thing, right? And Howard comes on, and they introduce him. And while they're talking about him, Howard's sitting at a table, and he's reading the law. And he's basically doing this. I mean, he's reading as fast as he can turn the pages, right? Then they close, at the end, he closes it and puts it aside, and the announcer, the reporter, turns around and asks him questions, and he gets them all right. Yikes. Whoa. It's a battle between who you are and who you need to be. Your emotions are your enemy here, by the way, because it feels uncomfortable. And your expectations are not correct. Because here's what you'd like. You want it to be easy, you want it to feel good, you want it to happen right away. And you don't want there to be any little bumps along the way. Guess what? That's not how it works. That's not who we are. It's always harder than you think. It always takes longer than you think. And there's always reasons and barriers along the way to give up. Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. Thomas Alva Edison. Really smart and talented people understood this process. Okay, I'm going to talk about Tiger Woods, the beginning of his career, because I don't want to talk about what's going on now. But this is, for those of you who don't know it, this is a really fascinating story. And I'm going to share it with you because I'm going to demonstrate this principle one more time. All right, so what did Tiger Woods say after he won the 1997 Masters tournament by 12 strokes? Let me set it up for you. Tiger Woods burst onto the scene after being three-time amateur champion, right? And in 97, he goes to the Masters and decimates the greatest golfers in the world. This is one of the most astounding performances in golf history. He broke records for low round. People were stunned at his level of skill and ability. Stunned. And that's when you first started to hear, because remember, people had a sense this guy was good. It was on that day, at the end of that tournament, that people said, whoa, this guy's a phenom. This guy has the potential. This guy is the real deal. Except what he did next completely shocked everyone. Because in the interview following this win, Tiger Woods basically said, my swing really sucks. What? What? People just looked at him like stunned. Your swing sucks. You just beat the greatest golfers in the world in one of the most important tournaments there is by 12 strokes, and you're trying to tell us that your swing sucks? Why would anybody who was sane say that? Well, here's why Tiger Woods said it. Because Tiger Woods' goal wasn't to be the world's greatest golfer. Arguably on that day he was, but that wasn't his goal. The reason he said his swing sucks is that that wasn't his goal. His goal was to be the greatest golfer in history. And what he said was, this swing won't get me there. It got me to this place on this tournament on this day. It's not good enough for me to be the greatest golfer in history. Now, let me frame this for you. Up until that point in time, golf was littered with professional golfers who said they were going to change their swing. Right? And almost to a golfer, all of them tried it, they did horribly, and finally gave up and went back to their old swing. The belief of the day when he said this was that you can't dramatically change your swing. It can't be done. This is insane. You just did all of this, and now you're telling us you're gonna give up what you have that's that great because you don't think it's good enough? You're crazy. And Tiger Woods said, I know this swing's not good enough, and I know what the swing needs to be. So he gets with his coach, and they design, think through and design what the swing's going to be. All right? So now that he has a sense of it, what does he do? Well, first of all, the whole world is looking at this guy, all right? And tells the story of, well, how did the greatest golfer in the world risk everything in his quest to be the greatest golfer in history? He didn't do this in the back alleys by himself. He did it on the national, international stage. So what did he do? Well, first of all, this is one of the key elements for everyone and for Tiger Woods and for you. Whatever he sees as a weakness, he turns it into a strength. We're not so good at that as a population. We would really rather just do things we're good at because it makes us feel good and it's easy for us and we get lots of attention for it, right? Right? What he recognized was what's going to make me great is I have to work on all the things I don't do well. I have to be a complete golfer. I can't just be the world's greatest putter. That won't get me there. I have to have the greatest drive, the greatest chip shot. I have to be able to make shots that nobody else would even try. That's what will make me great. So, how did he do it? Well, here's how he did it. Pound hundreds of practice balls, review the tapes in the swing, go back to step one. Practice, practice, practice. So, gets all these buckets of balls, videotape, coach. Bucket after bucket, hour after hour, day after day, week after week, month after month. Prior to Tiger Woods, no one had seen that work ethic, by the way. No one. Prior to Tiger Woods, golfers were a little chubby, didn't consider themselves to be athletes, weren't in great shape, really. Tiger Woods put his body in incredible shape and said, this is all I'm going to do, day after day, week after week, month after month. So, how long did he do it? 19 months, okay? Let's look at 19 months into his practicing. Over that period of time, how many times did Tiger Woods win a tour event? In 19 months, after he made this pronouncement, Tiger Woods won one golf tournament. One in 19 months. What do you think people were saying? Right? You know what they were saying? This guy's crazy. This guy was a great golfer. He was incredible, probably was one of the greatest golfers already, and he threw it all away because he thought he could change his swing. That's what they were saying. What was Tiger Woods saying? Each time he lost, he said, I'm a better golfer than when he was winning. I'm a better golfer than when... No one understood what that meant, but basically what he was saying is, winning is not always a barometer of getting better. Remember this thing about I want to work a little bit and see a little bit of progress and work a little bit and see a little progress? Tiger Woods understood that's not how it goes. That's not how it works. That winning isn't the barometer of whether I'm going to get to the finish line. In May of it started in 97. In May of 19 months later, May of 1999, Tiger Woods found his swing. What do you mean he found his swing? Well, here's what that meant. That meant that before he started, Tiger Woods got up and he hit the ball without thinking, just like you brush your teeth, okay? And then he said, I'm going to change this. How long did it take him to get to the point where now when he stepped up to the ball without thinking, that swing was natural, but it was the new one? 19 months, okay? And again, he says, Tiger Woods said, I found it. I have my new swing. People thought he was crazy. So what happens after this pronouncement? Tiger Woods went on to win 10 of the next 14 tournaments. 10 of the next 14 tournaments. He understood it was going to take a very long time. He understood that it was going to be incredibly hard. And he understood that along the way, lots of people were going to tell him he was wrong and that it wouldn't work. Tiger Woods not only changed himself, by the way, he ended up doing this again in his career, and arguably, if he never golfed another day, would be considered the greatest golfer in history, in my opinion. Okay? Regardless of whether he beats Jack Nicklaus or not in number, what he's done is incredible. All right? But here's the other thing he did. He showed the rest of the professional golfers that it could be done. And guess what? Now you're seeing golfers that are now changing their swing because they understand the process. They know how long it takes, they know how hard it is, and they know how to do it. But someone had to have the courage and the insight and the understanding to be able to get there. You know what stops people from being who they need to be to succeed? They don't have faith. They can't work long enough. It's too hard, it takes too long. I want it to be, if it were easy, everyone would do it. It's always harder than you think. It always takes longer than you think, and there's always going to be barriers along the way. Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were before they gave up. Success seems to be a matter of hanging on after others have let go. Now let's bring this home. Let's talk about what goes on inside your educational experience. I'm going to use MBAs because I'm familiar with them. I taught the undergrads too, so I saw both. And I saw this happen. I taught Z302 when I was here. And I also worked with the MBAs. And let me tell you about a group project. You've all been in group projects, right? Even, you know, Let me tell you what happened. I was amazed by this. And I saw it happen over and over again. Let me tell you how this goes. Because I would sit in. And so they get this problem they have to work on, right? You get the group project, and it's defined for you. Here's what you have to do. So I'm assuming when they first get together, they're going to talk about, well, how are we going to solve the problem? That's not what happened. Here's what happened. They all got together, and right away, somebody would say, all right, listen, before we start, I'll do the PowerPoint for the project. What? I'll do the PowerPoint for the project. Why? Superstar. Oh, yeah. I could teach PowerPoint. I'm an expert, so I'll do the PowerPoint. And then someone says, okay, listen, all right, since we're there, I will write the paper. Seriously, Will Shakespeare. I'll write the paper. I'm a great writer. Someone has to, oh, wait a second. Research? I'll do the research. I'm an expert. What's going on here? Here's what's going on. Everybody's saying, listen, I want to go with my strength. I want to get that grade. This is all good. Listen, I'm already good at it. I'll do a great job. It'll be easy for me, and I'll get a good grade. Oh, yeah, hey, there's a good short-term strategy. Every weakness he saw, he had to turn into a strength. Whoa, that's not what's going on here. This is everybody wanting to go with what they already do well. They want to go with what they already do well. Well, what do you think you need to be doing while you're in college? This is a great place for you to be starting that process of working on the things you don't do well. Well, you can't do that if every opportunity you get, you want to go with your strength. All right, what do people fear most? Number one fear in America. Public speaking. Public speaking. Number one fear in America. By the way, no one in the group was, everybody, by the way, was talking over each other in this, ooh, 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 I'll do the, because no one wanted to raise their hand and say, ooh, 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 I'll do the presentation. As a matter of fact, I was trying to get a hold of PowerPoint, so I didn't even have to think about that. On that list of fears with public speaking is death. Death! Death or public speaking? I don't know, torn. Not sure. Death looking pretty good, actually. It's our emotions that stop us from becoming who we need to be. And we have to learn how to control them. And I'm going to teach you how to do that before you go today. Because it's what gets in the way. You know, I thought Seinfeld really said it the best. He captured it for me. Because basically he said was, listen, people would rather be in the casket than do the eulogy. Right? Yo, a lot better, a lot easier to be dead than to be talking about the person who's dead. Listen, we all face challenges. I'm going to tell you about a challenge I faced. When I was a kid, I was a stutterer. If you're not a stutterer, I can't describe to you what it's like to have a word in your head and have it get caught here and not be able to say it. Very frustrating. And I was very young, and so the kids knew I was a stutterer, and you can imagine how kind they were. Very tough. But I was in a school system that helped me. So here's what happened. Every day when all the little kids got shuffled off to recess, little Joe got shuffled off to the speech therapist. And what do you think they did? Well, here's what they did. They put me in a room. They put a set of headphones on my head. And guess what they made me do? They made me go through and talk through all the things I couldn't do. Because we pretty much knew what my problem was. So, over and over and over, hour after hour, day after day, week after week, month after month. Now, I will share something with you. I was a stutterer then. I am a stutterer now. I will be a stutterer till the day that I die. I will never conquer this completely. Never. I'm 60. I'm not going to conquer it. All right? But let me tell you a little something about how this works, okay? First of all, think about this. They're making me go into a room and talk over and over and over again. What happens when you do something every single day for that length of time? You get pretty darn good at talking. That's the first thing. Pretty darn good at talking, much to the chagrin of my family. The second thing was that I thought about this. As I got older, I said, listen, because I know I can't completely conquer this, I need to have an expanded vocabulary. Now, I needed, and you need, an expanded vocabulary for a lot of reasons I'm not going to tell you, but I needed one for a very personal reason. So, what I started to do was I started to buy books, special dictionaries with words, and I started to memorize words and learn words and expand the number of words in my life that I could use to explain something. And let me tell you the strategy. It was real simple. All right? That was the first one. Expand your vocabulary. The second was learning the behavioral piece of how to deal with it when it happens. Because when I would get stuck, right, what I would do is I start to say something I couldn't, and I would go, what? And then I'd say a different word. And people thought, wow, he's so thoughtful. Yeah, kind of. I needed an expanded vocabulary because I needed another word that I could say. I needed another word that I could say that looked seamless and fluid. So I learned how to mask it when it happened, and I had a word to pull to be able to make, and that's what I started to work on. That's how I learned to get through it. Back then, no one would have ever predicted this. Turning your weaknesses into strengths. If not here, if not here, where are you going to learn? Real quick story. I had an MBA, came in, this guy off the charts, one of our most talented candidates that we admitted in many years. And so, of course, I hired him to work in the MBA program. I'm going to take the best person, let him work for me. I'm not stupid. And so we came in, and I got to know him. He was a very reserved guy, very quiet. And so we were talking about strengths and weaknesses. And, I've been talking about this a long time in my life. What I'm sharing with you, I've been talking to people about for a very long time, because I believe it. And he basically said to me, listen, I'm just deathly afraid of public speaking. I said, well, hey, listen, everybody is, on the list, right? Death's on that list, so I understand. But he said, listen, I'm not doing it. I said, listen, this is a mistake. He said, listen, I said, seriously. He said, listen, all the other things you told me, you have been so great, but I can't. I said, you can. He says, I'm not. He said, I'm a superstar and I know it. I'm not arrogant about it, but I'll be successful. So we agreed to disagree, all right? Now, over the course of his tenure in the MBA program, he never missed an opportunity to come in and show me his success, by the way. His grades would come in and he'd put 3.98. Just wanted to show you, Joe. Right? Internships came out. Just want to let you know, going to P&G. Just thought you'd be interested, right? And then he got like 5 job offers. It was a different environment back then, by the way. He had like 5 job offers, signing bonuses, and he came in and said, oh, just wanted to let you know, signing bonus, $10,000. What do you think? I said, listen, I'm so happy for you. Seriously, and I was. I said, we disagreed. I know we have a point of contention between us, but I don't wish you anything but success. I really don't. And we parted friends, because we were. So he left, and I don't know, 18 months, 2 years later, the phone rings. It's him, out of the blue. So I pick up the phone, and John, he says, I said, John, he said, oh, Dr. Pica. He said, you're the first person I'm calling. I said, okay, here it comes. Here comes the latest in his list of accomplishments, right? He said, the first person I'm calling. I said, why? He said, well, I want you to know this. He said, that I've been invited to sit in and be a part of the board meetings of this company. And I'm the youngest person to ever do that, and I'm the first person ever to be given a major assignment. I said, wow, that is absolutely, he said, no, stop. He said, I'm not done. I have to do all the research, write the paper, and I wanted you to know I have to make the presentation. It was silent. Now, I could have said I told you so. I didn't. But I did think this. That's not the place to learn. Pretty sure. I don't think I'm going out on a limb here. That's not the place to learn. So where's the place to learn? Well, if not here, where? And if not now, when? When are you going to do this? Right now. I'm going to pick 3 of you. You're going to come right up here and stand right here, and you're going to give me a minute and a half or 2 minutes on why you want to be a business student. Now, I'm assuming you thought about that, but I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about it while I pick my people. All right, I got one person picked out. Two people picked out. All right, I got my 3 people picked out. All right, first person is Miss. Yeah, would you just stand right there? Gray sweatshirt. Stand right there. Stand right there. Yeah. Stand. Her. Stand up. No, no, right here. And glasses? Yeah, stand. All right. All right, before we go, oh yeah, you're all smiling now. You know, I'm giving a presentation, I pretty much have your attention. I gotta pick somebody to speak. I don't know how many shoes can get untied that quick in a room. But I'm looking at this, down. And then I can see, look, don't look, no, move, don't move. Look up, stare, just don't move. No, be casual. Don't look, don't make eye contact. Did you feel it? Did you feel, you just met the enemy. Did you feel it? That's what stops you from becoming who you need to be to succeed. Did you feel it? You're going to be stunned when I tell you this. But when people come up and do this, no one ever died. I swear. No one ever dropped dead after giving their 30-second or 60-second speech. I swear, no, never happened. Never happened. Did you feel it? It's a powerful feeling that gets in the way of who you need to be. But I'm going to now be much more specific about how you can come. By the way, I'm going to thank our 3 people, but I want to finish up with a couple more concepts, so I'm going to let you off the hook this time. She's laughing. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. Eleanor Roosevelt. All right. I had another MBA that I hired in, really smart guy, came out of Dallas, Texas, and I looked at his profile, hired him in as one of my grad students right away. He was a top candidate. I'll never forget the first day he came in and walked into my office, and I just looked at him. His shoulders were this big, his waist was this big, his arm was the size of my leg. He was a bodybuilder, and he had competed. He was something. And he came to me and he said, and I met him and I got to know him. And then like a week later he came in and said, listen, he said, there's nobody in the MBA program that's a bodybuilder. I said, oh, man, I'm sorry, But he said, listen, I need a spotter. So, would you like to learn how to do this? I said, well, I'm already a runner. He said, that's great. Running and bodybuilding, great combination. He said, all you have to do is come for a week or 2 until I meet somebody in the gym, and I'm having a hard time because there's already people already paired up, and he said, I'll teach you how to do this if you ever want to do it. I said, okay, listen, that's interesting to me. I said, but here's the deal. I'll do it for 30 days. I need a 30-day commitment. You know why? Because I do 30 days. He said, fair enough. That's fair. So I'll never forget, he said, here's what you need to do, and I had to get a weight belt, and it was all free weights, by the way. He was a purist, all free weights. And so we went to the gym, and he said, okay, he taught me how to spot him, and for every exercise he did, I did it. Now, I didn't do as much weight or as many as he did, obviously, but I went through the whole routine. So I remember I got up the next day, and I had this spot right here. It was the only place that didn't hurt. Everything else was screaming with pain, right? And so I thought to myself, number one, he's nuts. Number two, 29 more days. I kept going. It didn't hurt quite as much. I got better at it. 30 days later, said to myself, do you want to be a bodybuilder? Yeah. Because I got to the point where I started to understand why people do it. And I'll give you two reasons. There's lots. Let me give you the 2 reasons why. One is, you know that endorphin thing you get when you run? You get that when you bodybuild too. And number 2, which was an unanticipated thing for me, was that having the ability to start to take control of what your body looks like gave me a real sense of empowerment, of control in my life. Confidence. If I can change this, I can change anything, because this is a hard thing to change. I worked out with him for 2 years. He left. I found other partners. But to stay with it, let me tell you something else that I learned, and another one of my principles, okay? Here's the scene, right? I work out in the mornings. I get up at 6 to go to the gym. It's January 10th. It's 4 degrees. It's sleeting. There's this much ice on my car, right? And the alarm goes off. Now, here's my rule. Every day I have to do something, whatever it is. This was bodybuilding. I say to myself, you have the right to ask this question. Do you want to do this today? All right? That's my rule. Here's the caveat. For bodybuilding, I could ask that question, but I had to be at the gym to ask it. Because here's what I learned. Sleeting, 4 degrees, 6 o'clock, alarm goes off, in bed. If I ask the question there, pretty much know the answer. Okay? So, my rule, gotta go to the gym. So I get up, get dressed, outside, scrape the window, warm up the car, drive to the gym, walk inside, and honestly, I actually would say it out loud. I would walk in and I would say, you want to work out today? The answer was always yes. But here's what fascinating part that I learned was that I didn't have to get to the gym. I only had to get to the front door. Now, here's the principle behind what I'm trying to share with you. Your emotions will beat you every time, and the only way to beat your emotion is with behavior, doing. Because you have that moment of truth when the alarm goes off. All I'm asking you to do, I'm not asking you to even get all the way to the gym. I'm just saying push yourself to take the first 3 or 4 steps in the direction of where you need to go. Because a fascinating thing about human beings is there can't be a dissonance between what you do and how you feel. Did you know that? Psychologically proven. You can't look like you're happy and be angry for any extended period of time. You can't behave one way and feel another. That dissonance can't exist in humans. After a very short period of time, they have to become congruent. Either you really become angry or you really become happy, but you can't act happy and be angry. That can't exist for any period of time. You control your life with what you do. Because if you let how you feel control your life, you'll never become who you need to be. So, just forcing myself to take the first 3 or 4 steps toward what I knew I needed to do broke the emotional problem. I just needed to get going. And now, you're going to know those moments of truth because I just described them. When you know you should do something and you don't feel like it. All I'm asking you to do, if you really want to be successful, is to just force yourself to start to do the thing you don't want to do. You don't have to go very far before your emotions will come in line. Because in the end, by the way, I did the same thing with classes. I mean, I applied this principle all over my life. You know, that I wasn't a great student, to be honest with you. And so I had to go to class, because that was one of the few advantages I had. And I said every day, for every class, you can ask yourself, do I want to go to class today? You just got to be in the back of the classroom to ask yourself. Because in the end, 80% of success is just showing up. Woody Allen. 80% of success is just showing up. All right, here they are, the simple steps. Establish a plan. 30-day commitment. Do it every day. Just show up and monitor your behavior. You want to be who you can become, do those things. Because thoughts become actions, actions become habits. Habits become character, character becomes destiny. Victory belongs to the most persevering. This is what you do right now. Give me 30 seconds, I'll be done. Right now, you're not thinking enough about what you need to do. You're letting your feelings drive what you actually do, and you're not doing it. It doesn't ever get done. Because if you think what you've always thought, you will feel what you have always felt. If you feel what you have always felt, you will do what you have always done. If you do what you have always done, you will be who you have always been. Socrates figured this out. Here's what you need to do. You need to think about it. It's not a mystery. You know what you need to become. You need to do it first and not let your emotions get in the way. Because if you do it, those good emotions will follow. Every single one of you has the potential to be a superstar. What I'm saying now is you'll know those moments, and you should make a conscious decision about whether you're going to be great, because this is what it takes. And every one of you can do it. I have faith in you. Get it done. Thank you.